Tony Khan reached into his daddy's pockets and he's whipped out wads of cash. He's gave it to Will Ospreay, he's gave it to Okada in the hope of getting some big ratings. But the reality is, they lost 53,000 on the March 9th edition of Collision.
Yeah, Okada might be worth $4.5 million a year, but he's certainly not bringing 4.5 million viewers to the product. Hell, he isn't even bringing a tenth of that, as the March 9th edition of AEW Collision came in with an average viewership of 402,000 viewers, with 147,000 viewers in the 18 to 49 demographic that Tony Khan, Dave Meltzer and Chris Jericho treat as if it's like some second coming of Jesus. Now, this episode is down. Yes, we've got a decrease from last week's, which drew 455,000 overall. This week we're down 53,000. How can that be? We had Daniel Bryan wrestling. We had Daniel Bryan and Will Ospreay facing off face-to-face, accepting a match at AEW Dynasty. We had a big street fight with barbed wire and tables and fire and all of this shit. And of course, we had the big $4.5 million man. We had Okada teaming up with what people say is the best tag team of all time, the Elite, the Young Bucks. And even if you don't think they're the best tag team of all time, the other self-proclaimed best tag team of all time, FTR, were also on this show. So we've got two of the best tag teams of all time. We've got the big money man, Okada. We've got Daniel Bryan. We've got Will Ospreay. Hell, we almost had more wrestlers on this show than we did viewers watching it.
We did. Edge and Christian as well. We got the Bastard Pack. All that good stuff. Oh, you slag, as Will Ospreay said. But you know what? These guys all fucking suck. It just proves our point about them. Doesn't matter how much you pay them. I mean, we're not going to lie, right? See if The Rock appeared in Collision, he'd probably increase it by a few million. But is it going to change? It's not like these guys are paid per million.
I don't know if he'd increase it by a few million, but I'm going to have to assume that Collision would do its highest rating of all time.
No, I think he would, right? You know, I know SmackDown's getting like 2.5 million with The Rock on it.
But I think it's so controversial that he'd be in a different company.
Yeah. Well, when I say it by a few million, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to
break the 2 million mark.
If it went to like 2 million.
Right. Well, and I think that's fair. I think that could happen.
Yeah, but that's The Rock. You know, we never expect it. Okada and co, right? And Will Ospreay to get millions and add like 400,000 to the viewership.
But if they're not,
it just justifies why they shouldn't be paid this much.
If they're not adding to the viewership and they're not doing great in the merchandise sales, then why are they getting paid this amount of money? Are they getting paid that amount of money just so Meltzer can dish out more 5.5 star, 6-star matches? I mean,
that's what it is, though, right? Because the reality is, see if your viewership on your television show's poor, then your buy rate's going to be poor when they have these big matches at the pay-per-view. That's what see, back in the day, if you cared for the TV product, you'd tune in for the fucking pay-per-view. I mean, Will Ospreay and Daniel Bryan.
Do you want to wrestle, little man? Yeah, you little slag, I want to wrestle, Daniel.
That's the fucking feud right there. Why would I tune in for the next couple of weeks build-up? There's no history, there's no personal feud there, it's just...
Do you want to wrestle?
What the fuck's that? Come on.
Yeah, it's not even like the network where people will pay $9.99 because it's the network and you're getting a shitload of stuff on it, and they're probably going to tune in to watch the premium live events, even if they don't watch it on a weekly basis. But if you're not watching free TV, AEW on a weekly basis, then why are you going to pay $50 for the pay-per-views? That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
You could understand WWE, people be like, I'm not going to watch every week, but I'll check out the pay-per-views because it's in my $9.99 subscription. But who's going to pay for $50 for a pay-per-view if they've no interest in watching the weekly episodes?
Yeah, how much are the buy rates for AEW pay-per-views? I don't think I've ever looked.
I think the last one did 150,000, which I think was their best of all time. And it was Sting's retirement. Now, we'll make a separate video on that because I think that's interesting, and I actually want to compare the all-time AEW pay-per-view buy rates, and I think it will be interesting to see what kind of impact Sting and his retirement match will have had on that. So we'll save that for a separate video, but I do believe right now it was the highest. We'll find out whether I'm talking shite or whether I was right. But yeah, final thoughts on Collision here. This is a show that was basically made for CM Punk. The ratings when CM Punk were on it were pretty good. I remember what they did, like, was it 850k, and people said that was a terrible rating. People were laughing, bashing CM Punk, saying you're not hitting 1 million. I says, well, look, obviously it's Saturday night. It's not a good time for a wrestling show, but you guarantee yourself you take Punk off this show and you lose a big portion of that initial audience, and that seems to be the case. I mean, they've almost lost half of it, so...
Yeah, they have lost half it on Saturday night, right? See, in terms of trying to get casuals to watch, worst night of the week. Easily the worst night of the week.
I mean, there must be... You know what? Screw TNA. If I was AEW, I would move Collision to Thursdays.
Yeah. You've got to move it to a different night. See, Saturday, the only people staying in watching this are the people that would sit in and watch it anyway.
I mean, even if you moved this to a Friday, would it be much worse? Or even take a chance. Collision sort of has that Nitro sort of vibe and stage feeling to it. It's got the look and the design. I think if you put Collision on Mondays and went head to head with Raw, you wouldn't get worse ratings than this.
Yeah, much worse.
No, I don't think you'd get worse.
Because they'd all still be tuning in.
I think you'd get more going head to head on a Monday night against WWE Raw than you would on a Saturday night.
Well, you know what? Why not risk it? Tony Khan has got a lot of money, right? TNA ran out of money. This guy has got the funds to go head to head with WWE, so why not actually put it to the task?
Or stick it to WWE, move it to Tuesday nights, and go head to head with NXT. He likes to claim that Dynamite beat NXT. Why doesn't he try and beat NXT with Collision?
Yeah, and Raw is obviously easier to beat than SmackDown with the Fox deal. So
if it was me, I would be moving it to like a Tuesday, Thursday, and I mean, who cares? The logic is, oh, you can't move to any other night because there's wrestling on. Bullshit. Right, maybe don't move to Friday because you've already got Rampage on. Rampage comes on after SmackDown. That gets a little bit of the SmackDown audience, so maybe don't touch that. But you've got Thursday nights where you could take on TNA and you would win 100%. You've got Tuesday nights where you're taking on NXT and you probably should win. I think it's debatable whether you would win or not, but you should win. And then you've got Monday nights, which is probably the best night. I think that's the night where most shows tend to try and get on. It's a good night for television. Why not put it on Monday night? Who cares if you're going head to head with Raw? I still think you would do better overall in the ratings by being on a Monday night than you would a Saturday night. And maybe you don't even need to go head to head with Raw. Maybe you could overlap it, so 1 hour's going into Raw, or Raw's a 3 hour show, so
you start 1 hour before Raw.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe do something like that. I'm not too sure, but the Saturday night thing just hasn't worked.
Yeah, like all the people that be tuning into Raw, right? If you start an hour early, they probably watch Collision in the build up to Raw, but then the problem is your second hour with the first hour of Raw would probably get annihilated. And I say probably it would. It would be bang bang good night for AEW Collision. But you're right, like they might, even if they go head to head with Raw, yeah, they're going to lose out to Raw, but they're going to probably get more viewers than you would on a Saturday night.
Well, let's have a look at the Collision rating. So yeah, last week they did 455,000. The week after that, the week before that, sorry, did 385. The week before that, they didn't have a rating. I think it's because that wasn't on that week. I made a video saying it was cancelled and a shitload of people lost their pants. The week after that, they did 492, which is probably the best they've done in a long time. Then it was 404. Then it was 300,000 on the dot. Then it was 441, 400,000, and then 402. So it seems to be the lower end of 400,000 is what Collision tends to do. Their average for the year so far is 409,000, and they're not doing much higher than Rampage. Some weeks are actually losing to Rampage, and Rampage is like a throwaway show right now. Rampage isn't really a serious...
Yeah, it's like the SmackDown of the early 2010s, where they just was like a Raw rerun. Rampage is just a piss take.
Well, no, I think that's what it was before Collision came along.
Oh, I will.
Rampage is now like a Sunday night heat. Friday night heat.
Velocity. Main event.
So yeah, I just don't think Collision would be doing much worse if you moved it to another night. You got Impact Wrestling on Thursday, struggling to get above 100,000. Why not put Collision on Thursdays and really stick it up Impact? Impact that could be the final nail in the coffin.
Please do it, Tony. I've had enough of TNA.
That could be it. So, but you never know. Like I said, there's lots of people they argue that Rampage actually benefits for being on a Friday night because they get the SmackDown audience. Maybe move Collision to a Friday night or something like that.
They get the SmackDown rub.
Or go head to head with NXT. You look at NXT at the moment, they're not doing that great. Their average rating is probably the mid 600s. Are you telling me Collision moving to Tuesday nights couldn't compete or maybe even beat NXT?
No, of course, I think it could, yeah. See no reason why not. Because the people, it just goes down to the fact that if you're tuning into NXT, the people I think people tune into NXT would probably like Collision, and then that could switch the audience.
But you got to factor in Saturday night. You've got a lot of sports events on, right? It's a bad night. Weekends of sports in America, so first of all, that's not good. And then you'll get like big pay-per-views when it comes to like boxing and MMA, things like that. They tend to happen on a Saturday night. That can also fuck up your television ratings. Then you look at WWE, who over the last like couple of years have done quite a lot of premium live events on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. So you've got to factor that in. I mean, that completely derails you. And then like WrestleMania. We know WrestleMania is night 1, night 2. You're guaranteed that WrestleMania night 1 is going to be on a Saturday. So it's just not really logical, in my opinion, to have a wrestling show on a Saturday anymore. Maybe back in the day when wrestling was popular and people would actually sit in to watch it, and WWE were not doing 2-night WrestleManias and they didn't have Saturday night premium live events, then you could argue that. But I think with the amount of fucking issues and the amount of competition that AEW can have on a Saturday night, yeah, don't get me wrong, some Saturday nights there'll pretty much be nothing on and they'll have the Saturday free to try and get the fans, but the majority of Saturdays, there's going to be something bigger and better on than Collision.
Absolutely, and that's the problem we run on a Saturday. As you said, there could be the odd week where nothing big's on, but for 52 weeks out of the year, I would say at least like 45 of the weeks you're going to have something on that people are going to rather watch than Collision.
Like, what about WrestleMania? What about night 1 of WrestleMania? Who's going to watch Collision over WrestleMania night 1?
No one.
Obviously they'll probably move it or they'll just cancel it, and that's just not ideal. Whereas you could move it during the week to like a Tuesday, Thursday, and it would be fine. That'd be a compromise. Or hell, why not move it to Mondays, go up against Raw and give us some Monday Night Raw. Give us some Raw Monday ratings. Anyway guys, that's it. We'll catch you in the next one. Being Fog Wrestling, thanks for watching, and peace.